really exciting, the positivity out here, and again, the word excitement keeps coming to mind. The more people we can bring downtown, the more people we can bring into Titusville and have a good time with these bike trails, the better.
Well, we're from Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, and oh, it was beautiful. We had a great time. Wish we had more of it back home.
And they had the highest point in Titusville, which was the bridge that went over.
It's a good way to attract people into our downtown and show what our city's about. And then also it provides a great opportunity for recreation. We have the most beautiful natural beach 8 miles away. And I think once the bicycle trail goes from the bridge out to the beach, it's going to be a game changer for our entire city in this area.
All right, welcome to the March 22nd, 5:30 p.m. City Council presentations meeting. We do have a quorum, so I'll call this meeting to order. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? And the pledge to the flag. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic. One nation, God, liberty. City Clerk, would you please read the rules to speak?
Yes, this is a city council meeting to hear special recognitions and presentations. Council will not take formal action on the agenda items at this meeting. All individuals wishing to speak may do so under petitions and requests from the public present. No sign-up card is required. Citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak. All sign-up cards and exhibits being submitted to the City Council should be placed in the box on the table in the council chamber.
Thank you very much. Council, before I do anything else or even go to City Manager, I need to adjust the agenda. I need to add the J.T. Hassel Mayor's proclamation. Can I have a motion to do that?
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes. Add it to the agenda. City Manager?
Where would you like to put that?
Right now.
Okay. Official proclamation of the City of Titusville, whereas Justin Tyler, J.T. Hassel, was born on August 14, 1995 in Titusville, Florida. J.T. grew up in Titusville and attended both Titusville High School and Astronaut High School. And J.T. was born with only 2 fingers on his left hand, suffered bullying and depression. J.T. was able to overcome the adversity, and in 2019 signed his first NFL contract as an undrafted free agent with the Cleveland Browns. And whereas J.T. recently formed the Hassel Foundation to help bring awareness to children's mental health, and has supported various youth organizations with financial scholarships and special appearances and speaking engagements at local schools and the community. And whereas in 2021 holiday season, the Hassel Foundation fed over 200 individuals, delivered gifts to 20 kids in the Best Buddy program at Titusville High School, and took 10 kids from the Boys to Men with Purpose mentoring program to the Orlando Magic basketball game. And whereas in 2020, authored his first book, Ups and Downs, and is currently working on writing a children's book to help bring awareness to the importance of healthy mental health in children. And whereas JT was able to grant a critically ill child's wish of meeting an NFL player, was also able to raise money for the family to help with the expenses. And whereas JT continually shares his inspirational story, including a keynote speaker at Eastern Florida State Black History Month celebration and community ambassador for the Community Credit Union. Now, therefore, I, Daniel E. Diesel, by the authority vested in me as mayor, do hereby proclaim our sincere appreciation to Justin Tyler, J.T. Hassel.
You can clearly see from the proclamation that JT is a young man that makes a difference every day. I was fortunate enough to coach him at Titusville High School, one of the best linebackers I ever coached. That's the reason he's in the NFL. No, let me start over. He's very good is why he's in the NFL. Rest assured, he was going to be that good whoever coached him. I always like to tell the story. JT had an issue, I think it was on the field, and got all fired up one game and I think had a suspension from a game. Well, that's the worst thing anybody could ever do to him, because when he came back the next game against Rockledge, the guy had like 24 tackles. I've been coaching for 40 years. I've never had anybody have 24 tackles. He dominated the game. Most of the tackles were behind the line of scrimmage. Let's just say he played very angry that game. But what I really want to get to is the difference he makes. He's been very successful. I've had some successful football players do some really good things. I don't think I've ever had a football player or a student do any more to make a difference in his community than JT does every day. He gets up every day, and I swear he thinks, what can I do to make a difference today? What can I do to make somebody better today? And for that, I, as a former coach of his, and somebody who sees him, and somebody who cares about the community, I am so proud to be the guy that gets to sign that and say thank you for everything you've done. So with that, I'm not going to let you get out here without saying a word or two, because you're also going to see he's a really darn good speaker, too.
Thank you. Not long. It's a blessing to be here and receive this award. First off, I thank God and my parents. Definitely Dan Diesel, being there throughout high school and, coaching me. And, he was a great guy, a great leader, definitely helped me out throughout life. And I don't really have too much to say, but, I just thank God. And I'm looking forward to just helping the community grow. Thank you.
He does. I want everybody in on this one. You go right here. Go in front of this one. Go in front of this. There we go. All right, we can't do better than that, so the meeting's over. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, JT. All right, City Manager.
Recognize the Employee of the Month, which is Jesse Burrow from the Water Production Department. And Mr. Stauffer was do the presentation.
Thank you, City Manager. Good evening. My name is Sean Stauffer. I'm the Water Resources Director for the city. The Employee of the Month for the City of Titusville is Jesse Burrow. And Jesse has been with us for quite a long time in the department. He is now winning the award as, I guess when he was put in for this, he was Senior Maintenance Mechanic in the water production. But he has also just recently taken a leadership role with us, and he is now our Chief Maintenance Mechanic. Very glad to have Jesse on the team, have him stay on the team. He was in field ops for a number of years. It's great to see him grow in his career and grow his career here with us in Titusville. So I want to congratulate Jesse, and so you got to come up now.
Thank you. Okay, sir, thank you.
And on to item 4B, which is a presentation on the Sustainability Action Plan Public Engagement Report. And Rachel Mueller will provide that presentation to council.
On. Right. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to provide for you all a summary of the public engagement that took place for the Sustainability Action Plan between the months of October and January. So the Sustainability Action Plan, we've been formulating this based off of Goal 2 of the Strategic Goals and Objectives for the fiscal year 2022 to have an efficient and effective government. I also believe that this plays a part in many of the other goals that were set out for this year. So part of the Sustainability Action Plan is to summarize and centralize our current efforts regarding sustainability, what the city is doing, and how we can continue.
Hold 1 second. Hold 1 second. Guys figure that out back there? I know that's disrupting and distracting, so I'm going to hold for a second. Matter of fact, I don't listen to two. Good. You make a call or? How you guys work on whispering back there? No, I got that. Just wishing they just make the call and just. All right, go ahead. Thank you so much. I apologize.
No worries, it happens. Why are we doing the Sustainability Action Plan again? We want to pursue Goal 2 of the strategic goals for 2022, and then also to summarize and centralize the current efforts that the city is already taking to pursue sustainability, and then build upon those. This also provides us with a foundation to benchmark and have metrics for our future efforts and a location to look at to see what is the city doing currently that is sustainability, and how can we continue to build on that. And then also by doing a sustainability action plan, we promote education and engagement with the community regarding sustainability. As this is the city's first sustainability plan, education is a huge component to make sure that our community knows what the city is doing and where we can go from there. And then with that, I know I have presented on this before, but just to reiterate what sustainability is, it's meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So what does that mean? For a local government, it means how can we plan for our constituents today without hindering the ability of future generations to have those same benefits that we have today. So within that, there are 3 pillars of sustainability. It's environmental stewardship, economic development, and social justice. And so sustainability is trying to find a balance between the 3 pillars, making sure one isn't outweighing the other 2 and vice versa. So again, sustainability isn't anything new to Titusville. Titusville has been doing sustainability for quite a few years already. In 2018, a sustainable initiatives inventory was done by the planning department, and that outlined all of the different departments, what they're doing to pursue sustainability. Some of the efforts include changing all the light bulbs in City Hall to LED light bulbs, reducing our paper consumption by going on to paperless timesheets, amongst other things, and more recently, getting certified by the Florida Green Building Council as a green local government. And currently we're working on getting certified again through the Lead for Cities initiative through the U.S. Green Building Council. This effort is going to be done simultaneously with a sustainability action plan, so we can have metrics and look at benchmarking and compare ourselves to other cities, not only in Florida, but across the nation and across the globe, as this is a global rating system. And from there, where are we currently with the sustainability plan? We just are wrapping up phase 1, the focus area study. That's what this presentation is on tonight. And then from there, we'll go into phase 2, the composition and adoption, which will take place between spring and summer. And then phase 3, come back to you with the implementation and what are our strategies to implement that will help promote sustainability within Titusville. So what did we do during phase 1? Phase 1, we like to call our focus area study. This is where we did the majority of our public engagement to find out what it is that the community wants to see us do to pursue sustainability. So within that, there were 2 major areas: our online engagement, how we engage the community online, and then how we engage the community through in-person engagement opportunities. So our online engagement consisted of an online survey, a idea wall where the community could express their thoughts and concerns online through a discussion format. So people could post their idea and other people could go in and like or dislike the idea, respond, and etc. This is fun. Okay. Then from there, we had a focus area funding game after several of the engagement opportunities. The consultant SNME of Orlando, they grouped together through 9 focus areas and then asked the community to prioritize which of the focus areas they're most interested in.
Yeah, let her finish. Go.
And then we also did in-person engagement as well. As you all know, I came and spoke to you about the Sustainability Action Plan a few months ago. I went to all the different boards and commissions and presented the project to them. I also, along with our consultant, went to the Christmas Craft Festival at Fox Lake Park, where we talked to so many different people, especially children. They were very engaged and wanted to be a part of this plan. We did a public workshop, and one of the things I would like to mention is that when we did the online survey, half of the respondents weren't very familiar with sustainability. About a third of them were kind of on the fence. They didn't want to say they weren't familiar or they were familiar. And the rest of that weren't very familiar at all. So only about half of our respondents were somewhat familiar with sustainability. And then on that same note, half of our respondents didn't want to say whether or not the city was effective in pursuing sustainability. We gave them a scale of 1 to 5. Most people chose 3. They didn't want to say the city is doing everything that they can for sustainability, but they also didn't want to say the city wasn't doing anything at all, which I find very interesting because that brings me to my third point, which is 80% of respondents believe that it's important for the city to continue to plan for sustainability. So I take that as a very encouraging sign that the city is going on the right direction by starting the Sustainability Action Plan. And then from there, we can go into, as I already said, that here are all of the engagement opportunities we provided for the community. We got 100 survey responses. We did 7 presentations. We had a stakeholder meeting, 1 public workshop, 1 pop-up event, and almost 2,000 visits to our website in the 3 months that it was available. And then from there, we derived our focus areas. So the consultant SNME created 9 original focus areas that was presented at the public workshop. That was business recruitment and development, community support, ecosystem, infrastructure and energy, livable communities, parks and open space, resiliency and adaptation, smart growth, and water. So those were 9 areas that were presented to the community, and at the public workshop, each member that came in were given 5 tokens so that they can vote on what their top 5 focus areas were. And from there, we derived these 6 focus areas: community and livability, ecosystems, and resiliency. infrastructure and energy, water, smart growth, and sustainable economy. We did this through a methodology that we kind of created where we took every comment that we received, every answer from the survey, and we assigned each of them a number. And based on that, we ranked what is the most important things for the community. What we noticed was that some of the ideas that we were told throughout this process, they kind of were overlapping and belonged into multiple categories. So we brought that down and we tried to make each of these focus areas as targeted as possible so that any one idea didn't belong to multiple categories. They each had their own silo. And so from there, I'll go into what each of the focus areas are. So community and livability, that kind of brought together three of these focus areas: community support, parks and open space, and livable communities. We felt that the three of those really belong together in one category that kind of encapsulates what social sustainability is all about. What are the resources that we are providing for those that are facing poverty and homelessness? How can we expand our community engagement and get more people involved in the process of working with the local government so we get more feedback along the way? How do we develop opportunities for our youth to get more involved and more engaged? How do we plan for our children? Provide additional trees, parks, and open spaces. Since the city itself doesn't have a parks department, it wouldn't make sense to have this as its own focus area, but to include ways that we can partner more with the Brevard County Parks and Rec so that we can provide more trees and parks and all these community amenities that everyone loves to have. And then within that, improve the aesthetic quality of the community. How do we make it a place where people feel comfortable and want to be? And then another thing we heard a lot was doing more with agriculture, resolving issues with food deserts in the community, and promoting more community gardening. And then from there, the second focus area we discovered was ecosystems and resiliency. This brought together two of the original 9 focus areas. That was resiliency and adaptation and ecosystems. The city already has a resiliency plan, so we didn't see why we would need to have a whole focus area on resiliency if we already have a whole planning document dedicated to addressing resiliency in Titusville. So instead, we brought ecosystem and resiliency together. And as I'm sure you all already know, the number one topic here is the Indian River Lagoon. Everyone wants to see the Indian River Lagoon in better health, and that's what the priority of this focus area is going to be. And so some of the ideas we heard from the community were having Florida-friendly landscaping, reducing non-point source pollution in the Indian River Lagoon, protecting our natural resources, providing education and information about climate change and sea level rise to the community. Our third focus area is infrastructure and energy. So what is that? That is, we recently passed the low impact development ordinance that will fall under this focus area. How do we improve the stormwater management of the city? How do we implement a septic sewer program? Again, these were ideas from the community. Multimodal transportation, energy performance, and reducing the energy consumption of the city. Implement strategies to curb local dependence on landfill, possibly recycling programs and education on what is and isn't recyclable. These are all things we heard that the community wanted to see in the Sustainability Action Plan. The fourth focus area is water. This is our most specific focus area. It is very narrowed and focused, and I was pretty surprised to see how on top of everyone's mind this was, how often we heard water was a concerning issue. A lot of people are kind of unsure about the city's water supply and how future growth is going to impact the amount of water that's available for years to come. So that one gets its own focus area. And then from there, smart growth, also pleasantly surprised by how this was ranked in the community engagement we got. Many people were very familiar with smart growth, which is kind of not something I'm used to in past communities, but people here are very interested in redevelopment and adaptive reuse and infill, and ensuring that new development is occurring in a way that is sustainable and development that encourages alternative modes of transportation, so we can have a system that relies on a multimodal transit network instead of just relying solely on our personal vehicles. And then our final focus area is the sustainable economy. This one is kind of a rebranded focus area from the original business recruitment and development. We noticed throughout the community engagement process that this one was not on the top of everyone's mind. People weren't very excited about business recruitment and development. And we had to ask ourselves, why is that? Economy is a central pillar of what it is to be a city and how we continue to grow. So what isn't clicking? And we think it was kind of the name and how it was being branded, because economy is one of the 3 pillars of sustainability. So we can't keep it out of the plan. Instead, we have to go about addressing it in a different way. And that's how we came up with the sustainable economy focus area. So what that includes is opportunities for workforce training and connecting businesses and those in seek employment within the city. Ensuring local businesses can be successful by providing resources such as high-speed internet, makerspace, shared use commercial kitchen. Encourage sustainable or green businesses to move here to Titusville. Implement policies to use local vendors before outsourcing. Promote an ecotourism economy, and encourage more circular economy. These are all ideas that we heard from the community. I took these specific examples from the different events we were at. And that brings us to where we are now with the Sustainability Action Plan. We are wrapped up on phase 1, and in your agenda packet was the total 93-page report of the Sustainability Action Plan. But don't worry, most of it is appendix. It's only 9 actual pages of content. And then from there, we'll go on to phase 2, composition and adoption, which will be the majority of the writing and getting the ideas and looking at other cities and what they're doing and seeing how we can implement programs to be sustainable in Titusville. And we'll come back to you again sometime in the spring or summer give you an update on phase 2, and then from there is phase 3 implementation, which will mostly consist of a matrix of the different programs we can do, the funding for those programs, and the time frame for which we want to see them completed. And with that, I will open up for any questions.
I would just open up with, I think I've seen your presentation 3 or 4 times, and every time it gets better and more in detail. And the thing that's added more and more is the input from the citizens. And we didn't have that when you first started. I think I saw in the first week you were doing it, and you didn't have that input. That input adds so much to it and so much information for us. So I think you guys are on a really good track, and I really like that you're seeking the input that you're getting. Anybody else have a comment or anything? I see none. Well done, and thank you very much.
All right, thank you guys.
Before we go forward, obviously, city manager or city attorney, give me an idea. Do we have obviously it's a height concern.
Yeah, I had a safety issue with the height of that particular easel.
All right. Can we, you do your easels, like 2 of them and half the height? Hold that. Hold that. I'm not going to make calls on what that city attorney, I'm going to need some guidance on what he can and cannot do. I'm up here trying to do a meeting and I've got other things going on.
Yes, sir. Of course, our rules are not that specific. You can have signs. They're to be at the back of the room. What I'm hearing is there's an issue with the safety. It looked like it was maybe 10, 11 feet tall, approximately, and it was moving, and it could fall and hit the public, so there was a concern about the height of the sign. That's what so we're trying to protect the public based
And
on the height of
what about the holding of the sign? Did you say something about holding the sign?
I can't even hold the sign.
I'd kind of like to do what we've always done. I don't want it high. Whatever he's done in the back before, we're all kind of used to it. Well,
Sir, Mayor, you're running the meeting, so
I get that. I don't want it that high. It looked like it was above the, whatever that is up there. So if you could just do the signs like you normally do them, it wasn't that high last time. Put it against the wall, and if you want to hold the sign. So go back there and maybe bring Jackson in too, but he can have signs back there. He can hold the signs back there. We just don't want them so high they could fall on somebody, and that last one was really high. So Stan, you're going to go back there and do whatever you're going to do. I'll let you know if I think it's okay. We're going to move to the next thing, and we're not going to be disrupted. Next thing.
We're on to item 4C, which is Kim Smith from the Education and Safety Coordinator of the Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization will provide a presentation on Vision Zero.
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Thanks for having me here this evening.
Well, there we are.
Okay. Yes, I'm here to talk to you about Vision Zero, and some of you may or may not know what that is. I'll tell you what it's not. It's not a tagline like click it or ticket or drive sober, get pulled over, those kind of traffic safety campaigns that you hear. This is actually a fundamentally different way to look at traffic safety. For too long, we've believed that having people die or get seriously injured on our roadways is just part of driving, and that's simply not the case. We feel that all road users have a right to get where they're going safely, and by all road users, I mean people that walk, people that bike. Everybody that uses our roadway has the right to get there safely. Vision Zero is a strategy to eliminate traffic fatalities and serious injuries while increasing safe, healthy, equitable mobility for all. And these traffic crashes are preventable, and no loss of life or serious injury is accepted on our roadways. And I hear a lot of people say, can you really prevent all crashes? I just want to make it clear that's not what Vision Zero is. We're always probably going to have little fender benders, but yes, those crashes that create deaths and incapacitating injuries on our roadways can be prevented. Little look at Brevard County crash data. The last couple years, well, we were actually trending, if you look at it farther out to 10 years, we were trending pretty good. And then COVID came along, and an unintended consequence of COVID was as the roads emptied out by as much as 30%, our severe crash rates went up, and fatalities and things like that. And if you look, I don't know if you can see it, on the very bottom, it has some common causes of traffic being DUI, speeding, and distracted driving. And I don't know if the bottom line there, distracted driving is almost 5,900 crashes in 2021 compared to DUI only causing 636. That's incredible. Now, when I say distracted driving, I'm not talking about just phones, because that's what people think when they think distracted driving. Those are all the things people do behind the wheel of their automobile that is taking the attention away from driving, putting on your makeup, eating food, whatever it happens to be. Even our cars these days. I'm lucky enough to have a newer car with a lot of the safety features, and there's a lot in there to look at. You got to remind yourself, look out the windshield. I did bring some Titusville crash data from last year for you to look at. There's a spot map there that kind of shows you where your crashes occurred. These are the serious and fatal crashes. And our most vulnerable road users, pedestrians, motorcyclists, and bicycles, I put those numbers on there for you as well. You can see pedestrian fatalities accounted for 21% of all of your fatalities, and then motorcycle fatalities another 26%. So that's 47% of Titusville's fatalities last year were just those two groups of road users. If this is going to play, I'm going to just show you a quick little video.
Did you know in Florida, an average of 800 pedestrians and bicyclists are fatally injured in traffic crashes every year? What do you think is a more acceptable number?
Acceptable? Maybe 50?
Okay, this is what 50 people look like.
Oh, that's my family, friends.
So now, what do you think is a more acceptable?
0. Definitely 0.
So that video kind of outlines what I was talking about, that obviously the man's perspective was changed on how he looks at it. And the reality is unfortunately, the next crash could be one of our loved ones or our next door neighbor or somebody like that. We never know. So I have a very good friend. She's been a big supporter of Vision Zero. She was 9 months pregnant. She'd been married a year and 5 days, and her husband was hit by a red light runner and killed 2 weeks before their first and only child was born. So I get kind of passionate about this as well. One of the things that we need to do with Vision Zero is we have to put a face to the crashes. I showed you a bunch of numbers. Those numbers don't really mean anything. Those numbers are human lives. Some of the things that are going on here in Brevard County are roadside marker programs. You see them out on the interstate. City of Cocoa's adopted a program like that. Brevard County has a program where a roadside memorial can be erected with the person's name on it and intended for people that drive by there to realize, hey, this is a spot where somebody lost their life on the roadway. This past year, the TPO actually participated in our first ever World Day of Remembrance. That's a reflecting pond at the Brevard County Government Center, and every one of those bags with a candle in it, electric, we didn't need a fire hazard out there, so we have battery operated, represents somebody that died on Brevard County roadways between 2016 and 2021. And in case you're, 2020, and in case you're wondering, you can see they go all the way around 400 bags. So how do you get there? We talk about zero, we say we can prevent these crashes. We do it by using something called a safe system. We look at all aspects of that. We need safer roads. We need roads that are designed to, when you do have a crash, you lessen the impact. Things like, dirty word in some parts of Brevard County, a roundabout. A roundabout really reduces the angle at which two cars come together, and roundabouts actually reduce fatalities by as much as 90%. So things like that you need to look at. Obviously, speed, that's a no-brainer. Speed adds to the severity of injuries, so we have to look at ways we can manage speed. Safe road users. A lot of what I do, traffic safety, educating road users about the facilities that are out there and the things that they need to do to do their part. Safer vehicles. They're getting safer every day. I mean, I can't tell you all the things that my car sometimes tells me I'm doing wrong, you know. It shakes the seat if I change lanes without putting on my blinker and all kinds of things. So that is coming to help us out. But, you know, we have to continue to move forward and do all we can to be safe. And then again, post-crash care. It's very important that first hour after a crash happens, the care that person gets in that time is critical to if that person recovers and how long their injuries will last. So emergency response, they have to be able to get to the crash, and they have to have the training they need to start rendering aid right there on the crash scene. I chose this quote by Henry Ford back when the TPO started the Vision Zero process, because I think it really embodies what we're trying to do here with Vision Zero. We're coming together. I know later on tonight you guys are going to consider a Vision Zero resolution, and that's what it's about. TPO, you know, we're the planning agency for the county, but we need all of our local municipalities to adopt that goal as well. And we come together and we stay together. We have a Vision Zero leadership team. And then as we move forward, we'll all work together and we can plan a safer Brevard County. Just a rundown of where the TPO is with Vision Zero. We actually adopted our goal of zero in July of 2019. The governing board adopted in July of 2020. I'm getting confused. They adopted the work order in 2019. A year later, we adopted the action plan. Then in October that same year, we adopted a web-based toolkit, which a lot of our cities have used to get their programs up and running. And now we have a Vision Zero leadership team in place that we have all the cities that are Vision Zero cities on that, and we all work together to see what we can do better. As of today, these are the Vision Zero cities that we have. Cocoa Beach has it on the agenda, so we're doing pretty well bringing our local partners along with us. So what can you do? Just you as a person. Well, you've got a lot of roles. You're elected officials, plus you're somebody that drives around the county. Consider the countermeasures. We talked about roundabouts, narrower lane widths, slower speeds. As elected officials, support the need for safer roads. Always be a safe road user yourself. And one of the biggest things that I think we all can do is have that conversation at home around the dinner table. May not be sexy, but it's a good one to have. It's like if there's somebody to talk to, we've got a real problem on our roads. And we talked about COVID, but the number of people we're killing on the roads is just as high. Last year across the United States, it was over 42,000 people that we killed on our roadways. So ultimately, if we want to succeed and eliminate serious injuries and fatalities on our roads, we must acknowledge that business as usual is not working. We need systematic changes to make meaningful progress. Thank you. Any questions?
First of all, very good presentation with a lot of facts and stats that I never would have been aware of, especially concerning the roundabout. I get lost in those. But that being said, obviously there was a real passion there and some personal stories. I think we probably all have one. But thank you for the presentation and for the progress you're making. Member Nelson.
I just want to ask you, having worked in Viera and having had to go through that roundabout 50 million times, and watching some other people try to navigate it, is it really safer?
So what is in Viera is not a modern roundabout.
Okay.
It is actually a traffic circle. It does have a lot of volume for the size it is, but it gets billed in the press as the circle of death. You want to take a guess how many people have died there? Zero. Because that uncomfortability when you go in that traffic circle, it helps keep it safer in some ways. But no, it's not, it has too much traffic in it really for where it is, but it doesn't have serious injuries. It doesn't have fatals. You know, yes, do we scrape up some cars and do some paint damage? Yes.
So if we wanted to see what a well-working roundabout would do, where would we go? What would you suggest?
I know FDOT has videos on it. You probably could go to their website, even YouTube. Most of them are single lane, so it's not like the one in Viera, of course, is that double lane.
Yeah.
And with it being so small, it's very confusing about where you need to be, and you know, both lanes can exit. I agree with you. It's confusing, but I look back and the stat that I told you holds true even for that traffic circle.
Yeah, when I go through that, I think of some of our elderly relatives trying to navigate that, and I wouldn't want to be in a car with them.
Right.
So, yeah, I wanted to see, everybody keeps saying roundabout. So I wanted to see what a good roundabout would be
and
like.
they won't put one in. I mean, if the traffic volumes are too high, they know it won't work. You know, there's all kinds, I'm not a traffic engineer, but there's all kinds of formulas and all they use. Case in point on Fisk Boulevard, they were proposing, FDOT was proposing one. They went back in and did another study on the traffic counts, and they found that they had gotten too high, and that has now been upgraded to a full signal.
Okay.
Member Stokel.
Member Nelson, you can go to Bend, Oregon. They have some really nice roundabouts, actually. So I was going to say thank you for mentioning that, because I do feel like I was one that hated roundabouts, and primarily because of the one that was built in Viera. Mm-hmm. And then when I was visiting Bend, Oregon this past fall, we were just driving around. I was like, man, why is traffic running so smoothly here? And there were roundabouts almost every intersection. And I started talking to my friend that's an engineer for the city there, and they were talking about that. And Bend is one of the fastest growing cities in America. So it's been interesting to see how they are implementing that with their growth. So
We heard the same thing about the Divergent Diamond interchange at Vieira Boulevard. I had two ladies approach me not too long ago, and she said, we were so against that and we hated it, now we love it. And I mean, the safety aspect of that is it eliminates all left turns, one of your most dangerous turning movements.
Yep, and to your point, I think especially slowing down traffic and being more alert, you may get in an accident, but it hopefully won't be a serious accident. So I appreciate the presentation, all the work you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Member Robinson.
Yeah, hello, Kim.
Hi.
Hey, Kim, I know that I knew that the one in Vieira was not a roundabout, and I've seen them in foreign countries. Where is our nearest roundabout? Is it one up in Flagler County or someone of note?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
I
know
I heard this
FDOT is trying to get one in Cape
presentation.
Canaveral.
I know I heard this presentation somewhere, and they said where one was here in the state of Florida, and it takes a lot of land to do a roundabout, and that's what's restricting some of the movement toward it. It just takes so much land to do one.
Well, I know that when you ask where they are, there is one on State Road. I want to say it's State Road 27. I know it's in Polk County. It's actually award-winning for how it drove down the crashes. It's a real rural section, and they had the big citrus trucks and all hauling citrus, and they had a lot of fatalities at an intersection. They put in a roundabout, and they've almost eliminated those types of crashes there. It's actually won an
There's
award.
a couple here in
Yep.
Florida, and that's one of the restricting factors of how much acreage it takes to build one.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I'm going to get off the roundabouts.
Okay.
Let's talk about, this is all about Vision Zero. I think the most powerful part of your presentation was that movie, because you never think about it. You say, well, what's acceptable? And, if you're the one, it's not, one is too
And who
many.
wants to be the one to pick
Who
that
wants to be
number?
the one, for sure. So
Yeah.
well, I appreciate the Vision Zero. It's something that we can accomplish, with a lot of finesse for sure. And I'm glad that we're doing it for sure. So great presentation, and let's go forward and try to make this happen.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Very enlightening. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. City Manager.
On to item 4D, which is the staff presentation by Brad Parrish on the status of the draft 2040 comprehensive plan.
So last year, you approved transmittal of the draft comprehensive plan that we had been working on for several years to the state, and we've received their comments. So I'm just going to give you a status of where we are with that, and then kind of describe to you what we think are the issues and give you some options to consider during your regular meeting. Just to give you some background, again, this all started back in 2017. There was a lot of workshops with the public, with the consultant we had, actually several consultants, all working together. And this image in the middle here is kind of an excerpt from the vision document that was created at that time, adopted by you in 2018 to go forward with the next step, which was the drafting of the comprehensive plan. And we proposed something in 2018 that was a complete restructure of the comprehensive plan, a replacement of what we have. And you can see an outline of that on the left side of the screen here. Places and mobility was really tying land use and transportation together. That was the bulk of the comp plan. And then we made some significant changes to transportation policies, housing, some natural resources and open space policies, and some tweaking a little bit to concurrency-related facilities, such as water, sewer, and other infrastructure policies. In 2019 or 20 or 19, the Planning and Zoning Commission had some concerns when this was heard for initial transmittal to the state. It was withdrawn based on some of the concerns that they had and that you had subsequent to their, after hearing what they were concerned about. And so there were several, as you probably recall, there were probably about 26, I think is what we counted, public meetings and workshops and with the Planning and Zoning Commission, with you and with the TEC about this. We made several tweaks to the comprehensive plan, and then COVID hit, and so everything halted. This finally came back to you on last year, and you approved transmittal finally of this plan to the state so we can find out what they had to say. The state agencies that responded to our transmittal included the Department of Environmental Protection, Department of Economic Opportunity, the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council, and the Florida Department of Transportation. Those are the only agencies that provided letter comments to us. DEP did not have any objections to anything we proposed in the plan. The Department of Economic Opportunity and the Regional Planning Council primarily talked about, asked us to update information and policies related to sea level rise and the coastal high hazard areas and evacuation areas. We think those are kind of policies we can certainly address. The biggest one that we received was from FDOT, and they had a big concern about the proposed land uses that we proposed to you, where, if you recall, we had consolidated several land use categories into fewer number of them, but we also increased the residential density significantly in several areas of the city and the intensities. In other words, the non-residential uses, industrial uses, and how far you can build. So they had a lot of concerns about the potential impact to state facilities. And so they asked for data analysis. We had several meetings with them about this. We believe that this, addressing their concerns, will significantly delay the adoption of this comprehensive plan if we want to try and address those issues. The other issue that we find since this was brought up to you initially in 2017, there have been quite a few property rights bills and legislative acts that have happened in the past few years that we believe will make the adoption of the comprehensive plan as written will put the city in a very difficult situation. For example, there are a couple of bills, and these are just two examples, that have already passed the legislature this year, and are just waiting for the governor to sign, that allow for small businesses or anyone to object and potentially sue the local government if they find a local ordinance to impact their business in some way. Another one is to it will ask the local jurisdictions to do a business impact statement before any ordinance is adopted. I can certainly provide you the drafts of these bills if you'd like to see how they're written. We're still waiting on the governor to sign them. But just so you know, the past few years, for example, the property rights element has been brought before the legislature, I think, the last 4 or 5 years, and it finally got adopted last year. And so we had to adopt those policies. If you remember, we had to make an amendment to the comprehensive plan addressing those policies. We believe that we're going to see more local preemption acts coming out of the legislature. Therefore, we believe that in addition to the comments and concerns that FDOT has to the land use portion of our draft comp plan and the issues we see coming out of the legislature, it's probably not prudent to adopt the comprehensive plan as written. There are a couple of options. One, obviously you could adopt it as written. The other option is to not adopt it at all. And obviously that will alleviate the issue that we would have answering FDOT's concerns and also any of the property rights issues. I'm just showing you here on this slide, you'll see all the current land use categories that we have, and that image on the left side, that's in our current adopted comprehensive plan. And the image on the right side is what we had proposed in the draft comp plan, where we were consolidating a lot of these categories together to make them simplified. The whole reason we did that initially was to try and make it easier for redevelopment of our commercial quarters primarily. We believe we can still attempt to do that if you go with the third option that we're considering. So with the third option, you could consider maybe adopting portions of the draft comprehensive plan and incorporating them into the current plan that we have now. For example, the transportation element that we have in our current comprehensive plan could be replaced with the draft mobility element that we drafted inside the new comprehensive plan. The housing element could be replaced. We expanded that dramatically. We added several policies related to affordable housing, missing middle type housing. If you remember, those are allowing for more duplexes, more quads kind of housing, as opposed to just single family homes and apartment buildings. You could also consider carrying over some of the draft policies that we proposed in the draft plans that address mixed-use development along our commercial corridors, infill policies to continue to allow for redevelopment of our commercial corridors. Planning and Zoning Commission and the TEC worked hard on wetland policies related to the ACC and even a tree canopy policy that is in the draft comp plan as well. Those are things that could probably be carried over as well. We don't think that would be much of a burden. But that's just a select few. We can certainly come back to you. We have a working strategy that we can come back to you if you give us that direction at your regular meeting. So going forward, if you do go forward with this third option, we believe that we still can go forward with some kind of tool to allow for redevelopment of our commercial corridors to help alleviate the impact, the pressure on our marginal lands. If you recall, that was the real intention of this whole process. This whole project was to kind of alleviate the pressure on our wetlands and marginal lands that we're seeing a lot of subdivisions being built into. And maybe allow for redevelopment on our commercial corridors and infill areas, especially those blighted commercial strips areas, and allow some residential development there, or even mixed-use developments there. We believe we could still do that if we go with this third option. This means we'll probably have to amend or update our plan development zoning tool, or maybe some other kind of zoning tool. So with that, we do have an advisability on your regular meeting tonight, asking you to consider these options, and we've already recommended that you choose the third option, allow us to come back to you with a strategy of adopting portions of the draft comp plan into our current comp plan. That I'll try to answer any questions you have.
Council, any questions at this time? Is that a yes? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Brad. Nice presentation. We appreciate that. And I know we'll see you again. Thank you. City Manager.
Last agenda item is 4E, which is letters of appreciation for the month. And Carrie Lubetsky, our life specialist at the fire department, life safety specialist at the fire department, was in receipt of recognition.
Very nice. We do anything or we're good?
That's it.
All right. Petitions and requests from the public for this meeting.
Well, I'm back, and good to see you, and thank you for allowing me my 3 minutes. I want to thank you also to our staff member Rachel and laying out a sustainability plan, because I think what I'm going to talk about right now, very briefly, is something that fits that extremely well. Well, this time I come with some very good news and an appeal for partnership with the city. I mean, a real partnership. Unfortunately, I and several colleagues have only 2 weeks to draft an initial proposal to the National Science Foundation to plan an educational and civic service project located right here in our beloved Titusville. I don't have the time tonight to provide many details, but in brief summary, the National Science Foundation will award up to $1 million to establish communities of practice, joining experts with local citizens who have identified important issues. And the Lagoon is a big looming issue that's part of this. And to improve community life and beyond. I think that the health of our lagoon and our future reputation among communities is at stake. The grant's intention will bring cooperation among the city, hopefully, KBB, the MRC, the Marine Resource Council, Rotary chapters, Russia, USA, local schools, faith congregations, and other charities with state and university professionals, scientists primarily. The two main sustainable goals within this proposal: A, train and equip citizens, including young people, in studying our precious urban wildlife and monitoring stormwater features to provide essential habitat. And B, utilize our local features, beginning with the Heritage Drive Creek, right behind my house that I mentioned the last time, as a natural educational field station, among other possibilities for teachers, students, and all citizens. A real chance to, I think, up our educational hands-on business. Please note that the proposal is receiving wide endorsement from many different sectors. University of Florida, 3 different colleagues at the University of Florida would be administrators of this grant. And partly it's in cooperation again with those hoping to restore the Indian River Lagoon. Please notice that no funds are requested from the city or the county. We ask the city of Titusville to become partners in helping to draft the proposal. First section of this thing is actually the planning for the proposal. And
Hold up right there. That's, first of all, it's in the 3 minutes. Secondly, City Attorney, can you tell us the issue with the city supporting or endorsing such a program or foundation?
In generalizations, because as stated, I have not seen the proposed grant. We don't know the requirements of the grant, the terms of the grant, any of the specifics. But I can tell you, if the city is to partner on any kind of grant, first you have to vet that, determine it as a public purpose and something the city first can do, wants to do, and achieve a public purpose. Can't be for a private purpose. I heard a mention about our stormwater ditches. Is that correct? Which, of course, is part of our stormwater system. So if we're going to have any grant to do anything in our stormwater ditches, first we have to determine, is it an appropriate course of action? So you'd have to first have your staff vet that out, determine that's something you want to do. Can we do it? Because your stormwater ditches have a specific purpose and they have to be maintained in a certain manner. So I'm not sure what this grant is proposing to do to our stormwater ditches. This is the first, I haven't seen any documentation. So to answer your question, I think before council can ever agree to partner or do anything, you would have to fully vet that with your staff, determine public purposes, what's the goal, and digest.
Well, let me go here. If I heard that we cannot partner with a private citizen on such an event or endeavor?
And I don't know enough about this grant. It sounded like you wanted, it was the University of Florida, so, right, I would think there would be an issue with the private citizen.
As I heard it, you said University of Florida is interested or endorsing.
No, they're going to be the actual home for this grant. I could no way submit a grant except through my own institution. I don't have my institution anymore, but University of Florida will be the base for this particular national.
Who would be applying for the grant?
There are several people that are working on it right now. A scientist in water and soil science at the University of Florida is writing it up. Again, I didn't have much time. I'm hoping to make a presentation because I think this is a great opportunity.
Relax, because I'm really just trying to find out where it's coming from. And there seems to be some fine line issues with our ability to support or endorse a grant proposal if it's a private citizen working on city property.
Yeah, but it isn't.
You mentioned University of Florida, and I still don't know what that means as far as us working towards our stormwater ponds.
Yes, sir. There still are a lot of issues that would have to be analyzed before you could determine whether it's appropriate that you would want to move forward with any kind of grant, especially working in our ponds or our ditches, where some we may have rights for maintenance and access, but of course that would not extend to citizens. I heard issues with education and children. Of course, that would not be appropriate to put them in our stormwater ditches. So before you really could support a grant, we would really have to know that from liability perspectives, legal access perspectives. What's the intent of the grant and how do the monies have to be used? Who's a part of the grant? That would take a lot of evaluation. And
could I respond, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This is just an introduction to what's out there. This is not a presentation. And there's probably 15 to 20 people that have been through this pretty carefully, looking at it the way that National Science Foundation does their granting, looking at cooperative ventures with other communities that do this sort of thing. I mean, this may be new for Titusville, but it's not new for other places. This is a University of Florida administered grant. They would be the administration. The principal investigator, known as the PI on this thing, is a professor at the University of Florida. University of Florida Extension is involved in this thing. There's a lot of people. We have thought about the issues that the attorney has brought up, for sure, things that would have to be worked out. The grant is in two parts. First part is just to plan an implementation in Titusville. It is not money to do anything. Matter of fact, it's only $50,000, which really isn't that much, strictly to plan. The next grant, however, if we got the first one, if we did a good job, is up to $1 million, which would bring money back to the community.
Well, let me jump in here and say,
Yeah.
first of all, you used the term several times in your emails, which I liked.
Right.
A vision. You clearly have a vision, you have a passion, and I can appreciate that. From our point of view, and especially staff and city attorney's point of view, you're going to definitely want to work through staff and city attorney.
Absolutely.
And see where it goes. Because there can certainly be no promise here that, yeah, let's go, let's get it.
Right.
I like the vision. I like your thoughts. But that's where it's at right now. And I appreciate you saying there's a lot of things to do and a lot of communication to be had in city attorney. I hope that you can, keep everybody on the right path, because what I really don't like having happen is somebody's got a great idea and they have this idea that, we can do this. And then the biggest concern is, well, the government won't get behind us. Well, we can't sometimes. And if the city attorney, makes it very clear that we can't get behind this, then we can't get behind it. But that's way down the road. And I
Right.
think that there's still a lot that can be moved forward with your vision. And like I said, that's a word that caught me when I was reading your emails. There's a vision there, and I think it's an honest and true one. So with that, if there's any questions here, Vice Mayor.
Yeah. I've got your emails, and I was looking at this too, and of course I got the response from the city. Just the idea, you said something that really concerned me, was you had 2 weeks, correct?
That would be for the planning grant, not for the
I
implementation
understand,
grant.
but you were telling us that you had 2 weeks, so you
To
were
get it
telling
into
us
the University of Florida,
I
with
understand.
or without the city as partners. It'll happen. It doesn't need the city as a partner. So I'm only here doing an introduction. I'm not here.
You're not asking for anything from us right now.
No, I just
Okay,
want to
well.
let people know about it and ask questions.
Okay.
And we wouldn't be implementing anything probably until about this time next year, actually.
Okay, so
before things go.
I think that the mayor is correct. You certainly need to talk to the city staff first. They need to understand exactly what happens. There is a liability issue when it comes down to private people doing things with city property, for sure. And so we can't do anything. We
Yeah.
don't know enough to do anything. I'm with the mayor. It sounds like a good vision, but there's a lot more work to do. As a professor, I'm sure you know there's a lot of work to be done. So
That's
if
right.
this is just an introduction, then
It's amazing what you can do with $1 million.
And a vision.
And, well, the
And
vision
vision.
begins. It does indeed.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you.
Petitions and requests.
Stan Johnson, 860 Poinsett Avenue. And I want to talk a little bit about this dishonesty in government, and especially what was just mentioned tonight about the draft 2040 comprehensive plan status, because I was at the Resilient Titusville workshops, and interestingly, here's what's happened. You got to listen to this. Pay close attention to this. I want Rachel especially to.
Over here.
And Rachel and Brad also listen to this, because Brad can confirm this. But so we're doing this workshop, Resilient Titusville. And we work hours, and I work hours and hours and hours afterwards on sea level rise. Miami and so forth like that. I contacted St. Augustine and so forth like that. It's real. It's real. So we could come to the next meeting, and East Central Florida Regional Planning Council, we take all that out. Politically speaking, it was removed from our discussion. It was removed from the report. Taken out completely, politically. So we're talking about dishonesty. So now, tonight, if you were listening carefully, Brad was talking about this 2040 plan, is we're bringing it back. So I want you to understand is that sometimes there is some dishonesty in our government. This is the same government. In other words, it's DeSantis, it's the same guy. So we had Resilient Titusville, that's all its sustainability and so forth. And then we had a presentation saying, I'm being redundant, of sea level rise. It's a big deal. And then took it out. So we also have a dishonesty in our local government too. And as you see, I'm wearing a shirt that has something to do with what's going on here in Titusville. And you see this thing about safety, Mr. Stauffer and Mr. The city manager. They were talking about my safety, about how I use these signs and so forth like that. However, these are the same guys, that sprayed sewage on cars and people for 4 months. Same guys. Safety. This is the city of Titusville. And we're not talking about just spraying people. We're talking about nausea, headache, diarrhea, vomiting, and so forth like that. Couldn't stop it. 4 months. These are safety. Sean Stauffer and city manager. So that's why I wear this shirt. It says fire. What does it say? City manager. Now so I'm asking you all to fire the guy. He's worthless. Okay, I'd like 2 more minutes, please.
I see
Probably
none.
won't get it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other petitions or requests?
Thank you. It's over.
We got more. Oops.
Kate Perez, 3025 South Washington Avenue, Titusville. I just had 2 questions. One question was for this young lady, if I may. Is the traffic circle at that's now called Indian River Preserve, is that a roundabout? Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. The other question was last Thursday. My understanding is there was a sewer break on Sisson Road. Is that correct?
City manager, do you want to comment on it? Whoever?
We had a clogged force main, but there was no overflow.
There wasn't any sewage in the street? Because I was told people were driving
No.
through sewage in the street. That's not
No.
true?
Not the reports that I received, no.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other petitions or requests at this time? All right, with that, we will begin this meeting. What do you think, 5 minutes? Okay, 55. Meeting adjourned.